These days, it seems that every single monitor that uses a TN panel is branded as gaming. It's got a 1 millisecond response time, it's fantastic for games, when in actual fact, you get something that's just a little bit washed out and is actually not that great for gaming at all. The Viewsonic XG2530 though is no joke, and definitely is an exception to this rule, as it comes with a 240Hz refresh rate, which in theory could be completely game changing. But does it actually make that much difference, and is the £400 price tag actually worth the investment? Well, for starters, you're not really getting something that looks £400. The size of the screen is 24.5 inches, its body is mostly plastic, and it doesn't really make me think that this is a monitor that costs £400. The stand though is pretty much perfect. It's got all the adjustments you would want. You've got pivot, swivel, height adjust, tilt, everything really, and it's even got a VESA mount if you do want to opt for something else. Around the back of the monitor, the design language sort of continues. You've got a display port, you've got two HDMI, one of which is HDMI 2.0, and then a USB hub. But other than the FreeSync technology that is built into this display, there isn't really much other than that 240Hz refresh rate to really make it stand out against some of its competition. The on-screen menu is controlled with the buttons underneath the front of the display, and it's not my favourite way to navigate monitors. I'd prefer a four-way selector, but actually getting through the menus is absolutely fine. The physical buttons do a decent job, and although the menu, to be honest, isn't really laid out that well, it looks pretty good visually, and once you know where everything is, you'll be getting around absolutely fine. But in terms of raw image quality, to be honest with you, it is actually quite disappointing. Not because it's a bad TN panel, in fact I actually think it's pretty good, and while the viewing angles still aren't really anywhere near the level of an IPS, they're not actually too bad, but you will of course get some colour shift at extreme angles. But it's not great in the sense that it really is quite far behind a good VA or IPS panel. It does beg the question whether it's worth giving up all of that for the extra few frames a second. So in terms of if you want to do some color critical stuff, obviously it's an absolute no-no. Do not buy a TN monitor for that. I haven't edited a single video on this display because I do not trust it in the slightest to actually accurately represent what I'm trying to display, if you like, to the audience. But if you're a Facebooker, if you just use the web, Reddit, and you play obviously a lot of games on the side, then the image quality is going to be absolutely fine for you. Just don't expect miracles. But in terms of actually what it's like to play games on, I have no complaints whatsoever. Not one. I mean, yes, the screen isn't as nice as an ultra-wide, and obviously you don't have that added level of image quality or detail from the higher resolutions or the better color accuracy. But in terms of the way it feels and responsiveness, it's fantastic. I know it is cheating a little bit, but I've gone from playing Destiny on a 4K monitor on a PS4 Pro to on the PC with a 240Hz monitor, and it's just absolutely ridiculous the difference. But if you do want to actually get the most out of this, you're going to want to play at 240Hz, and this is where the big problem is, because while we could all say I've got a 240Hz monitor, actually getting 240Hz, not really very easy, and I'm telling you it's going to be very difficult for you, because in many ways it's actually a lot more demanding than 4K. Whoa, what's he on about? No, it's not, and then there'll be complex equations down in the comment section below. No, I'm talking about the fact that suddenly you need a very good top-of-the-line CPU as well as GPU, because normally 4K, you don't really need a decent CPU. Most of them these days, if they're modern, will do the job. But if you don't want to get frame dips and you want to be able to actually hit 240Hz, you're going to want to overclock your processor and have it as ideally something like an Intel i7 is pretty much going to be your best bet. Games that are a bit lighter, of course, will be easier to run, and esports is really what this monitor is sort of aimed at. And I can testify that playing CSGO on this monitor is absolutely fantastic. I genuinely found that I was able to be a better player when compared to something like a 60Hz monitor, because everything feels lightning quick, input lag is seriously low, and as long as you've got a good mouse and keyboard, I find that the world's pretty much your oyster at this point. It's going to be player skill, no excuses. But whether it's actually worth the investment versus a 144Hz monitor, I'm not quite so sure. I think that there is a difference, and I think I could maybe feel that it's slightly better, but slightly better in my opinion is not worth £400. I'd rather get a bigger monitor with a high resolution and IPS panel. That's because I do a lot of stuff on the side, of course, that I require better image quality. I think that for 99% of people, this is what you'd be better off going with. But if you're dead set on having the absolute fastest display on the market, and you do play games like CSGO, and you do have a top-end graphics card like a 1080 Ti, Vega 64, paired with a top-of-the-line overclocked processor, then go for it. But I hope you realize just how much of a tall order that is, so if you're happy to do that, great. This wins the Top Performer Award, as a matter of fact, but I wouldn't do it myself, and I strongly urge you to really think whether you're in the category that needs this monitor, because I don't think that most people will be. But that's the end of this video anyway. I hope it's flown nicely. I've tried to make it a little bit more fluid. Let me know what you thought of this video by leaving a comment down below. Always happy to hear your thoughts. Subscribe for more videos. Check out the monitor reviews that I've already done on the channel over there. And please, stay tuned for the next video. What a catchphrase. That's not. It's rubbish.